Rentt Faina, a 25-year-old adventurer, has been hacking away at monsters for a decade. Without much talent for the job, Rentt finds himself stuck hunting slimes and goblins for meager amounts of coin every day. Little does he know, all this is about to change when he comes across a seemingly undiscovered path in the Watermoon dungeon. What awaits him at the end of the path, however, is neither treasure nor riches, but a legendary dragon that wastes no time swallowing him whole. Waking up a short time later, Rentt finds himself not quite dead, but not very alive either. He is nothing more than a pile of bones, armed with nothing but his trusty sword, tool belt, and ghoulish new looks. Rentt sets off on his quest as a newly reborn skeleton to achieve existential evolution, hoping to one day return to civilization with a more human form. Will Rentt succeed, or will the dungeon consume him for the rest of his undeath?
Lonely Adventure was entering a path leading to an unknown part of the labyrinth, but there was a dragon in front of him that he had never seen before. "I think I'm going to die, let's not argue." When he woke up, I was supposed to become a mythical class adventurer. When he looked into the lake, he saw that he had turned into a bone. Hold on, this is not possible. It sounds nice that adventurers get to start their day early, but most poor people get to start their day early too. Nobles, wealthy merchants, and scholars with chaotic lives are the only ones who sleep until noon. That could just be Rentt Faa's bias, but Rentt scholar friends forget to sleep for days at a time because they're so focused on their research. Rentt should check in on them soon either way. Not something a low-level bronze-class adventurer who grew up in a town that is too small to be on the map would do. Rentt Faa knows one reason: adventurers get up early to get good jobs. The Adventurers Guild helps us find jobs that are right for our level and skills. There are many jobs to choose from, such as killing monsters, keeping people safe, gathering herbs and materials, and even cleaning muck out of drains. Some friends stopped by to say hello to Rentt and ask if he had found any good job requests. But it looked like Rentt still hadn't found a job that fit him. Rentt thought he would go to the labyrinth of the moon's reflection. Most adventurers go on trips with other people, but Rentt usually works alone. Some things make that happen, but mostly it's because he's not well. He has been adventuring for 10 years, but he is only bronze, which is the second lowest rank. However, he can still make a living by killing monsters and selling magic stones and other supplies to the guild. He even has an emergency fund because he's such a careful adventurer, but at that moment he lost his caution, which is important for all adventurers, because he found something unbelievable in the labyrinth of the moon's reflection that had been explored many times and was now empty. Could it be a secret passageway? If so, it would be a great find. No one has been to this area yet. He might find some valuable weapons or magical gear. No, he could make a lot of money just telling the guild this. If he had been smart, he would have ignored it, but he was a fool and went into that scary and suspicious area by himself. There, he met a real dragon, the scariest monster of all time. Legend has it that they come in many shapes and sizes, and some of them are much bigger than most dragons. He knew right away that it was a dragon, even though he had never seen one before. The dragon's presence and the pressure it put on him proved it to be a dragon as a 1000-year bronze-class adventurer. He didn't have a chance against something so unique. How am I still alive after a dragon ate me? Wait a minute. Is it true that I'm not dead? I look like a skeleton, and I'm an undead, an immortal monster. But a bishop or priest could easily kill me with their purification magic, because being an undead goes against God's rule that the dead are not meant for this world. That way, does that mean he died? No, he's still awake and remembers things. I need to go back to town. That's not possible for me. Oh, wait, I'm already dead, so I don't want to be destroyed. No, I'm not sure what you mean. An adventurer shouldn't lose his mind. It's not useful to think about questions. I'm not able to answer right now. The dragon seems to be gone, but I should still leave this place. You can find these mazes all over the world. Some researchers have tried to figure out their mysteries, but no one is sure where they come from or how they work. There are different sizes of labyrinths, but they all hold valuable magical items and treasures, and monsters can be found in them. Around every corner. Oh, and monsters are also mysterious. Everyone is probably at the labyrinth of the new moon, where you can make a lot of money in a few days. Some people who like to travel alone, like me, should come here and ask them for help. He needs to first figure out how I'll talk to them. He runs up to attack the undead as soon as he sees it. He might feel heavy because he doesn't have any muscles. He is even less capable than a normal person because his physical abilities are so much worse. That's what you'd expect. In the end, he's just a bone. Now it would be easy for him to beat them. He should be careful now that he can't raise his sword because he is a person. That's not okay. He shouldn't expect to be able to do fancy sword moves since he's made of bones, but what about his other skills? All living things get their strength from their vital energy, or spiritual energy. You and I are the same right now. Even though we are both strong, his gear gives him an edge if he uses his spirit energy to improve his physical skills. He's getting back the spirit energy he just used for his attack power. Could it be that monsters, for some reason, change into better beings over time and with experience? People change too, but monsters are on a whole other level. As an example, a skeleton usually stays a skeleton forever, but sometimes they change into ghouls. This is called existential evolution. Yes, that is one of the things that Lorraine Vivey is studying. Ghouls are also undead, but they are more like humans because they have flesh. Rentt might be able to get back to town if he hides himself with his robes and masks. It is important for him to strive for existential evolution. First, he'll defeat monsters in this labyrinth and turn into a ghoul that night. Lorraine Vivey didn't understand why her rent wasn't paid today, and she's going to make dinner herself, so that's 5. His ability to move around has mostly been restored anyway. He can use spirit because this light seems to heal him. As long as he has energy and babble, he will try to fight some stronger monsters. Next, slimes are a classic example of a weak monster, but you shouldn't underestimate them. Amorphous liquid monsters are harder to hurt with physical attacks. The easy way to beat them is with magic, but he can't use offensive magic. He can only start fires that are safe for home use, so he'll have to use physical attacks to beat it. Either pierce its core or break up its liquid form until it can't come back together. You need to be weak and skilled. He can use up all of his spirit energy once a day to beat them. He's most likely to fight slimes, but it looks like he got lucky and hit one in the core with his blade first. He'll now get its magic stone. Slimes can fire an acid blast, but once they're dead, the acid is gone from their bodies. Slime fluids are used to make cosmetics for women because they make your skin smooth and clear when you stick your hand in them. Don't we have to stop using monsters to make cosmetics? Women must always want to look beautiful. This is enough to pay for a few days at an inn near the adventurer's base. Sheila put Newbie in a certain party and was going to ask Gent for help, but she hadn't seen him yet. A few days from now. That's not normal. Sheila promised the newbie that she would put her in touch with a helpful veteran if she could wait a few days. However, the newbie looked like she was short on cash. That should be fine, Sheila told her about the labyrinth of the moon's reflection. Nobody new should have any trouble with it. Rentt isn't hungry or sleepy at all if they're good with a sword. He thinks it's clear that since he's not dead, whatever he ate would probably fall to the ground. He fought all night because he thought it was fun, but it looks like existential progress. It takes longer than that. His physical abilities were much worse when he turned into a skeleton, but they're mostly back to normal now. He tested his spirit and energy after killing those monsters and found that it still worked. He can also use his mana. He can even use his godlike powers even though he is not dead. He does not wish to waste it. He's going to use it for this. Bread, divinity is a useful power that can clean water and keep food from going bad. It can also heal wounds and illnesses. It should last 3 more days after that. He believes. In 3 days, his body will need bread. Not worth your time to think about it. He should put his efforts into achieving existential evolution. For a while, he'll play it safe and slowly beat monsters. He can beat 1 or 2, but 3 would be tough. If he sees 4, he'll run away, and more than 5 will be too much for him. There isn't a good chance he'll meet groups that big in this labyrinth, but if he does, he'll be killed because he's so weak. The last time he went on an adventure was 10 years ago. Counting the time he spent training before that, it's been 20 years. On top of that, even the best adventurers don't have as much spirit, energy, mana, and divinity as he does. He only had one strong ability. He knows that being an adventurer isn't his thing. After a few years, most people stop going on adventures and go back to their village to farm or look for another job. But he thought that as long as he was alive, he'd figure something out, so he trained every day without fail. He asked a friend to teach him about magic and monsters. He took on even the smallest jobs. He did that for 10 years to become a mythal class, which was his dream. Adventurers with levels higher than gold and platinum. It's not even hard for naturally talented people to reach the top rank of adventurers who have saved whole nations. He will move up to mythal class. I've lived my whole life to become a skeleton. He's getting stronger than he was as a human, so it won't stop him. He was aware of it. It's not a mistake that he's getting stronger. These things can be sold by him. He should gather more. He's lucky to get more clear slime. Fluid slimes smell pretty bad after eating something, so their fluids can't be sold. What's going on? He's a ghoul, a creepy dead body, but he has flesh. This is a big step forward. If he works hard, he might be able to get even better at being undead. Oh, yes, vampires do kind of look like people, right? His body is fleshy. We'll let him make noise now. Hello, good morning. I need to work on my English. I Rentt. With our protagonist, the skeletal structure, chasing monsters and informing us that when ghouls multiply, it becomes quite troublesome. However, there won't be any issues if we position ourselves well and turn the battle into one-on-one combat. Since evolving into a ghoul, he feels more agile and attributes it to the increased muscle mass he has gained. What surprises him the most is the enhanced ability to use magic, spiritual power, and divine aura. Now, he can channel his full strength into his sword, killing monsters with a single strike. He realizes he has become much stronger than when he was human. The scene then transitions to a beautiful girl with yellow hair attacking the skeletal structure and breaking its neck with her sword. Our protagonist observes her from behind and decides to withdraw to avoid revealing his appearance in this form. He understands that if she sees him as a ghoul, she may either try to kill him or flee in fear. He contently watches from a distance, realizing that he hasn't seen her before, despite knowing most adventurers in the town. This is because many adventurers used to mock him and spread false rumors about his failures, but he managed to use their tendencies for his benefit. The girl continues on her way, and the ghoul follows, continuing his narration. He informs us that the guild believes having adventurers like him is beneficial, even with his low level. They haven't advised him to stop, and the decrease in the number of adventurers has improved the overall quality in the town. The girl walks ahead, and the ghoul keeps watching. As she walks, a strange light appears, and we see another skeletal structure in front of her. Startled, the girl attacks it with her sword. It's clear she's skilled with the blade, but she faces some challenges due to her lack of strength. Failing to cut through the skeletal structure, it pushes her back. The ghoul approaches her as she tries to attack with her sword again, but he effortlessly catches the blade with his hand, pushing her backward. In these tense moments, Rentt watches the situation from a distance, realizing he has no choice but to intervene and save her. Rentt rushes towards them with great speed. When the skeletal structure turns to him, Rentt unleashes his immense power, splitting his sword into two halves. Rena is astonished by what the skeletal structure has done. As Rentt approaches her to make sure she's okay, Rena is fearful and warns him not to come closer. Rentt, wanting to convey that he is not an enemy, drops his sword, raises both hands, and introduces himself as an adventurer just like her. He tells her his name is Rentt, but Rena hears it differently, welcoming him as Mr. Rondu. Rentt corrects her, and when she asks about his unusual appearance, he explains that he died but is still alive, giving him a different form from other monsters. Grateful for Rentt's assistance, Rena acknowledges that without him, she would have been among the dead. Rentt asks her to fetch him some clothes, as he wishes to return to his hometown and would appreciate her help. He hands her some money, instructing her to buy him clothes and keep the rest. Rena introduces herself as Robaju Rena and promises to repay the favor. She asks him to wait for her to return with the clothes, expressing her fear of his current form. Rentt, left alone, is concerned that Rena might report him to the guild. The scene shifts back to the city, specifically to the moment when Rena arrives, still catching her breath. Sheila, upon seeing Rena unharmed, becomes relieved and worried, wondering why she took so long and noting the absence of injuries or scratches on her. Sheila had been anxious as the sun set, and Rena had not returned to their meeting spot. Rena informed him that she had experienced a lot of events. The scene then shifts to Rentt, who is now fighting those creatures and appears to be much stronger than when he was human. He possesses superhuman abilities and incredible speed, swiftly moving towards the monster and tearing it apart with his sword. He realizes that knowledge and training alone are not enough. Since his transformation, He feels that he has gained something he desired most in his life, the talent. In those moments, someone calls out to him, "Lord Rento, where are you?" When he turns around, he finds Rena has arrived. However, she is afraid of him, unsure if he is Rento or another being from the ghoul race. Rento reassures her that he is indeed Rento in his foolish appearance, and ghouls don't take such risks to climb to such heights. Rena then hands him the clothes and what remains of the money. Still somewhat frightened, she apologizes and asks him to give her some time to get used to the situation, as beginnings are always like this. Rento looks at the clothes Rena brought and is delighted to find a very good cloak that can conceal his entire body like magic, with inconspicuous colors. Seeing Rento so pleased with the clothes, Rena informs him that she bought something else for him, thinking he might need it. She had visited the town a short while ago, and the guild members guided her to a good shop where she bought these clothes. Rento then looks at the bag of clothes and finds that she bought him a hood. She explains that she thought he might be in trouble if people saw his hands or feet. Rento becomes even more joyful, feeling grateful for her kindness. He was on the verge of tears, as he had found someone with such generosity at that moment. Sensing his sadness, Rena calls out to him and he assures her that he is fine. He is just extremely happy with what she has done for him. He is eager to wear the new clothes right away. And indeed, he puts on the clothes and finds that it is very easy to move in them. They might slightly obstruct his vision, but he won't face any problems if the opponent is just a monster or two. Rena asks him about his opinion on the clothes, and he tells her that he is very happy with them. Rena is delighted that she succeeded in this task. She then tells him that he looks very attractive in these clothes, somewhat resembling Barrow White. She hands him a mirror, and when Rento looks at himself, he finds that his face is quite attention-grabbing. Rena then hands him a mask, revealing that she bought it because she learned he might have difficulty entering the town with his current appearance. Rento expresses his gratitude and takes the mask to wear it. Rena speaks to him about their first encounter, mentioning that she initially thought he was a rare monster with a certain name. Rento puts on the mask, and as it gets closer to his face, a strange aura appears. The mask adheres to Rento's face, astonishing Rena. Rento tries to remove it, but he can't. Rena becomes frightened, fearing that something might happen to him. She apologizes and explains that she took the mask from the store because she found it intriguing. Rento responds, asking if the guild directed her to that store. Rena confirms, stating that the guild indeed guided her to the store, and she only bought this mask, which was unbelievably cheap, only 3 copper coins. She initially ensured it wasn't cursed or anything harmful and that nothing strange happened when she touched it. Rento then mentions that if the curse activates only when he wears it, he'll use the aura's power to save himself. Rena is astonished, saying, "Can you use the aura?" Rento tries using the halo's power to free himself, surprising Rena even more. She exclaims, questioning his ability to use the halo. Then Rento responds to her, saying, "Yes, I used it briefly." He mutters to himself that the halo's power has increased, perhaps enough to remove a simple curse like this. Rento attempts to remove the mask, but it doesn't budge. Rena apologizes for buying the cursed item, blaming herself. Rento reassures her, saying it's not her fault and that he needs to cover his face. He plans to gather more money and visit a powerful priest to remove the curse, so she shouldn't worry. Rena then holds his arm, expressing that she's no longer afraid of him and has realized he's not a bad person. Rento thanks her and suggests she shouldn't force herself to get used to him. As they head back to the town, Rena explains that she registered her name as an adventurer in the guild in the capital. However, since the capital is full of skilled adventurers, there aren't many suitable tasks for beginners like her. The guild advised her to come to this town, and there are 2 dungeons nearby. Rento responds, praising her decision, but questioning why she chose to come to such a rural village. Rena explains she intended to leave the capital from the beginning and wanted to quickly polish her skills to become a mature adventurer. Rento warns her that adventurers must be extremely cautious because they only have one life, unlike him with multiple lives. They laugh together. Upon reaching the town, Rento appears hesitant. Rena asks what's wrong, and he explains that he has many acquaintances here, and if they see his card, his secret will be exposed. Rena suggests they enter through another gate where they won't be asked to show their cards. Rento agrees, saying they'll head to the western gate. He thanks Rena, acknowledging her role in his presence there. Rena tells him not to speak as if he's bidding farewell and assures him of her ongoing assistance even after they enter the town. Rento, expressing concern about being seen as a monster, mentions potential trouble for Rina, but she insists she will help him regardless. Rento then mentions that if he hadn't met her, he might be dead by now, leaving Rina emotional. So, shouldn't I risk my life once again for you, Lord Rento? Come on, let's go now and enter this village together. Indeed, they head towards the village entrance from the western gate. The guards ask them to reveal their identities, so they present their adventurer cards, confirming that they are adventurers. Rina enters first, followed by Rento. However, Rento's peculiar appearance catches the guards' attention, and they surround him, asking to see his face. Rina quickly intervenes, claiming that there's a curse on his mask, and he can't remove it. One of the soldiers, surprised, questions the possibility of such a curse. Rina explains that Rento's voice changed due to a wound he received in a fight with a monster. Rento reveals a part of his head, stunning the soldiers. Rina confirms that he bought the mask to hide the scar but was unaware that it was cursed, and now he can't remove it. Feeling sorry for his misfortune, the guards request Rento to try removing the mask himself, assuring him it won't harm him if they touch it. A soldier attempts to pull it off with all his strength but fails. Rento then asks the guard to try, ensuring that he won't be harmed. The soldier struggles but cannot remove the cursed mask. Rina informs them that they will need a considerable amount of money to have a priest from the church remove the curse. The guards, sympathizing with their situation, allow them to pass. Rina expresses her joy at successfully crossing, and Rento thanks her for everything. Suddenly, Rento disappears when a carriage passes in front of them. Rina tells him that she only did what she could to repay the kindness he showed her. Rento, appreciative, thanks her, and they continue their journey. Rina continues searching for him and finds him hiding next to the wall. When she sees him, she calls out and looks for him, making him confirm that she is indeed a kind girl. Despite her inexpensive equipment, she takes care of them well, showcasing skill with the sword and bravery. Rento reflects on how adventurers with talent like hers eventually abandoned him. He apologizes, stating he will return and apologize to her once he regains his human form to some extent. As darkness falls, he arrives at a house and thinks to himself that it pains him to exploit a kind girl like Rina. However, he still needs assistance, desiring someone more cunning, someone who can hide these secrets. He knocks on the door, but there's no answer. He decides to enter the house and finds a woman sleeping. He calls out to her, recognizing her as Loren. He asks her to wake up, but she pleads with him to let her sleep a little longer. Threatening to drop books on her head, she begs him not to, but suddenly she wakes up and questions him. Startled, she notices Rento has removed one of his gloves, revealing a gruesome sight. Confused and shocked, she wants to know what happened.
Girl Lauren sitting at her desk, hearing a knocking sound on the door. She realizes it's Rento but is surprised that he didn't just open the door and enter. Lauren gets up from her desk and goes to the couch, lying down. Rento enters and approaches her, trying to wake her up, threatening to drop books on her if she doesn't wake up. Lauren wakes up and, upon seeing Rento, expresses surprise. Lauren informs Rento that she studies magic and the nature of monsters, but has never heard of someone being turned into an immortal creature by a dragon. She asks him if the dragon is still in the maze, to which Rento replies that it's not. Lauren then reveals that she wants to tell him that his story is fake, but she has to believe it based on what she sees. Rento, talking to himself, notes that Lauren remained calm and didn't panic at the sight, which he finds expected from an adventurer and researcher like her. Lauren questions Rento about whether he is sure that the immortal being in front of her is indeed her close friend Rento. Rento explains that he still retains his consciousness and memories related to Rento, but he is confident that Rento is dead. He ponders whether the current consciousness is the same as the previous one. Lauren acknowledges that it's challenging to determine if they are the exact same person and promises to think about it later. She then asks Rento what he intends to do now. Rento expresses his desire to continue his adventures and reach the rank of Mithril, but acknowledges that he can't go to the guild looking like this. Lauren suggests that she could take on missions on his behalf, if he helps her in her research. Rentt agrees but refuses to let her dissect him. Lauren insists on receiving some skin and flesh for her evolutionary biology research instead. The two strike a deal, and Lauren decides to investigate this unique case of evolution directly. In the morning of the next day, we see Rentt cleaning the windows when Lauren enters, carrying some bags of magical stones and slime currency. She informs him that purchasing these directly from him would save her the fee she would have paid to the guild. Moreover, the materials he provides are always of high quality, allowing her to create excellent cosmetic powders. Rentt takes the money and tells her he's heading to the Trifork shop. The scene transitions to Rentt walking through the city, feeling immense joy at having a lot of money. People look at him with surprise and bewilderment due to his frightening appearance. Finally, Rentt arrives at the shop, where the girl welcomes him and reassures him about his appearance, mentioning that many people come there with their faces and bodies completely disfigured. When asked about the reason for his visit, Rentt presents the sword and expresses his desire for a new one. The girl opens the sword and notices numerous notches, suggesting it has been used in great battle. The wounds on the sword indicate that Rentt uses magic or spiritual power. Rentt confirms this, mentioning the use of holy aura as well. The shopkeeper is amazed by his unique abilities, considering them extremely rare. Rentt insists on keeping these powers a secret between them. Rentt asks if the money he provided is sufficient for a new sword, and the shopkeeper assures him it is. She takes half of the amount as an initial payment and promises to deliver the rest upon completion of the new sword. Rentt expresses his gratitude to the shopkeeper, and before leaving, she informs him that the owner of the store, named Kurob, is obsessed with perfection. She warns that it might take a few days to craft his sword, and he may be asked to attend during its creation. Rentt doesn't mind and mentions that if she needs to contact him, she should send a message to the researcher Lauren, as he will be at her house. The scene shifts to Lauren, who is reading a book about Gillans, ancient creatures with long lifespans, low ranks, and exceptional physical strength. They feed on animal meat with a preference for human flesh. Lauren contemplates the possibility that these creatures are created from humans attacked by powerful monsters in mazes. They lose not only their human appearance, but also their consciousness and emotions. After closing the book, Lauren reflects on Rentt, considering him a unique case as he retained his consciousness while only his appearance changed. She acknowledges the uncertainty about whether he is still the same person. However, she leans towards believing that he is indeed Rentt, based on their long history together. Later, Rentt arrives and hands her money, revealing his plan to accompany her on a mission to Azure Forest. He wants to help her carry luggage, and since he's a beginner adventurer with an iron rank, she won't have to pay him. Lauren agrees, and they begin searching for papers and research materials. At this point, Lauren has earned the title of the youngest girl to achieve a doctoral degree. Lauren, a highly intelligent girl, receives the coveted Red Book, a rare item obtained by only a select few. The scene shifts to the moment when she finally finds the elusive flowers. She advises Rentt to carefully pick the plant with its roots, as the effectiveness of the flowers diminishes if not handled with caution. Lauren then calls for Rentt, the luggage carrier, who hands her the bag for the flowers. As they prepare to leave, a large double appears, seeking to kill Rentt. He stands in front of Lauren to defend her and instructs her to use the fire shell. Lauren successfully uses the fire shell, impressing Rentt with her combat skills. She explains that such feats are expected of a silver-ranked adventurer like her, possessing magical abilities beyond the norm. After the battle, Rentt offers Lauren some water to drink. He inquires if this was her first fight, and she reveals that she has fought many times, but always with a group of companions and guards. Rentt understands that her friends sent him along. When Lauren asks about Rentt's expertise in herbs, He advises her that aspiring adventurers should learn to read and write, be knowledgeable about plants and monsters, and study a variety of subjects. Lauren asks Rento about his name. They introduce themselves to each other, and Lauren requests Rento's guidance in learning about plants, combat, and everything he knows. Rento agrees, recognizing that Lauren needs to learn various skills to become a successful adventurer. Lauren reflects on Rento's journey to reach the mithril rank, noting that he worked hard without slacking off for a single day over the past 10 years. She imagines his dedication to studying and feels a sense of comfort thinking about his academic pursuits. Lauren realizes that the elders were concerned about her not responding to their inquiries and decides to search for the answers to avoid further reprimands. The scene transitions to Rento standing with the blacksmith, asking him to take care of his new sword. The blacksmith assures Rento that he has no need to worry and will craft it with great skill. Rento expresses gratitude and mentions that he relies on the blacksmith a lot. The girl who gave him the temporary sword informs Rento that he can use magic and spiritual power, but should avoid using anything else. After their conversation, Rento leaves, and the blacksmith expresses concern, feeling that Rento is in a difficult situation. He worries that there might be a curse affecting Rento, and he doesn't want to cause them trouble with the troublesome curse. The girl with him reveals that Rento mentioned knowing Lauren and possessing the 3 attributes. The girl comments that soon they will make him reveal the truth as he continues to visit their shop. The scene shifts to Lauren thanking Rento for the food he brought. She is impressed, saying she hasn't tasted his cooking in a while, and asks if he won't eat. Rento replies that he's not hungry. She then mentions reading the references again while he was away and notices a clear difference between him and an ordinary ghoul. She asks what he will transform into next, and he replies that he wants to become something humanoid. Lauren inquires if he plans to venture into the maze again, and he affirms, expressing his desire to continue killing monsters to become stronger. Lauren acknowledges his commitment to evolution and suggests heading to the maze. Rento agrees, stating that he will continue killing monsters to grow. The scene then shifts to the maze, where a man is struggling against a slime monster. The slime's attack sends the man's sword flying, and he becomes frightened. Rento arrives in the nick of time, rescues him, and the man expresses gratitude, stating that he never imagined slimes could be so powerful. After saving him, Rento reflects on the responsibility each adventurer bears for themselves, especially when venturing into a maze where no one knows if someone dies. He acknowledges that it's an adventurer's responsibility to handle their own trouble. The man approaches Rento, asking to be accepted as a friend, revealing he's a novice adventurer who just registered but can't even fight slimes. Rento explains that slimes are formidable opponents and suggests that the man, who was originally a cook, focus on his restaurant rather than risking his life. The man discloses his financial struggles, explaining that he needs to pay off debts. He had pleaded with other adventurers to join their party, but was rejected. So he decided to face the maze alone. Rento, inwardly thinking about the peculiarities of this maze meant for solo adventurers, apologizes to the man, stating that he is busy. The man, disappointed, accepts the situation. However, Rento unexpectedly tells him that it's okay to come along and help carry the equipment, bringing immense joy to the man who can't believe his luck. Inwardly, Rento questions if this man is genuinely good, but he decides that helping someone occasionally might not be a bad thing. The man, wearing his armor, expresses confidence in his abilities and mentions that he can do anything. This triggers Rento's intense anxiety as he wonders if he is still himself. He recalls Lauren's doubts about him being the same Rento. Despite the unease, Rento continues the journey with the man until they reach a path. The man, thinking it's a dead end based on his map, expresses confusion. Then Rento says to him, "Don't worry, just follow me," Suddenly, they discover a passage, leaving the man astonished because, according to his map, it was marked as a dead end. They continue to explore the passage, and the man is amazed at the unexpected turn of events. He hadn't imagined finding such a place in the reflected moon maze. However, Rentt explains that he came here to find the dragon responsible for the curse that transformed him, but he hasn't found it yet. The man, while exploring the area, excitedly calls Rentt. He has found a secret passage. Rentt rushes to him, and indeed, there's a hidden passage. The man suggests reporting this discovery to the Adventurers Guild, thinking they could earn a... However, realizing his mistake, he quickly corrects himself, stating that he knows Rentt made the discovery. Rentt reassures him that he's not concerned about credit. The essential thing is the newly found passage. Rentt proceeds down the secret passage with the man following closely. They enter a room that appears empty, and the man, hoping to find hidden treasures, starts searching for a secret passage within the room. Suddenly, a teleportation circle appears in the room, and despite Rentt's attempts to warn the man, he ignores the caution. The man vanishes into the magical circle, leaving only his hat behind. Rentt hurriedly follows him into the... As Rentt arrives in another room, he finds the man lying on the floor, presumably injured again. Worried, Rentt rushes to check on him. Suddenly, a colossal monster appears, a gigantic skeletal structure. Rentt assumes this might be the room of the monster leader and prepares to fight, drawing his sword as both his and the monster's eyes turn red. The translated portion concludes with the suspenseful moment of Rentt facing the enormous monster, and the question remains: can he overcome this formidable opponent and find a way to return to his human form?
Rentt engaged in a battle against the colossal skeletal structure. He uses his power to strike its leg, but the structure remains unaffected. It appears that this skeletal giant is from a lineage of powerful beings, possibly descendants of Ad and Thamud, known for their great physical strength. Rentt utilizes his fiery power, swiftly moving towards the skeletal structure and striking it again, but to no avail. The creature seems impervious to his attacks. Oh dear, what can be done now? Rentt realizes that the exit gate has disappeared, trapping them in the room. They must face their fate, either victory or death. Cornered in the room, Rentt recalls his past as a member of the Adventurers Guild, understanding that he must be strong and never give up. However, he is uncertain whether his sword can withstand the skeletal structure in those moments of uncertainty. Rentt employs the power of the green aura surrounding his sword. He charges at the skeletal structure, striking its leg and causing it to lose balance. Seizing the opportunity, Rentt swiftly moves in, delivering a final blow to the skeletal structure, causing it to collapse. The scene then shifts to Rentt treating the injured man, Loris, who was struck by the skeletal structure. Upon inspecting the fallen creature, Rentt finds it completely shattered on the ground. Amazed, Loris exclaims, "Oh my, I can't believe what just happened. Did you do this alone?" Rentt then informs him that he was the one who defeated the monstrous creature. He reveals the jewel he obtained after slaying the giant beast, indicating that possessing such a large stone implies that it was a supernatural monster. Rentt tells Loris that if he desires the jewel, he's willing to give it to him, but there will be a condition. Perplexed, Loris wonders why a strong adventurer like Rentt would need assistance from someone he considers weak. Rentt then reveals his disfigured body, a result of an attack by a monster. He explains that he can no longer enter the guild or even shops in town, so he needs Loris's help to gain access to his store. Loris, realizing that Rentt seeks more than just the jewel, offers him a deal, stating that the value of the gem is much higher than what Rentt is asking for. However, Rentt insists on a simple favor: the freedom to eat and drink at Loris's establishment without... The man is surprised because the value of the jewel is significantly higher than what Rentt is requesting. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Loris breaks into tears, touched by Rentt's genuine kindness. He assures Rentt that he can eat as much as he wants, and in return, he will do everything in his power to prevent any harm to befall Rentt's store. Rento then rises from his seat, handing the large jewel to Loris. As they glance towards the door, they find it completely sealed, with no apparent way out. Only Rento can see the magical gate, while Loris sees nothing. Rento instructs Loris to take 3 steps forward, assuring him that the gate will transport him back to his original location. The scene transitions to Loris and Rento, at Loris's beautifully adorned establishment. Rento comments on the exquisite appearance of the place but wonders if the food tastes as good as it looks. In that moment, Loris's daughter emerges, embracing her father, expressing relief that he is well. Loris reassures her that he only sustained minor injuries, thanks to Rento's intervention. He then presents the large jewel to his daughter, Isabel. Isabel, however, reacts with concern, warning her father about the potential dangers of accepting such gifts without verification. Loris assures her that Rento is genuinely kind and has offered assistance after learning about his debts. He explains that Rento has become their helper from now on, and as part of the deal, Rento is allowed to dine in their establishment without payment. Isabel is astonished by Rento's humble conditions, but she is taken aback by the lenient terms he has set. Rento assures them that their daily activities will not involve any danger. Isabel, still surprised by Rento's conditions, embraces her father again, relieved that he is safe. As Rento continues to converse with them, they exchange introductions and get to know each other. Rento then leads them to another part of the establishment, prompting Loris to address him. Loris expresses his gratitude and offers to settle his significant debt as a token of appreciation. Rento agrees to keep his identity a secret and insists that Loris refer to him as the skeletal structure, now identified as Rento. Thanks Loris for mentioning his name and invites him to dine at any time, assuring him a warm welcome. The scene transitions to Rento walking through the streets, talking to himself. He recalls Loris and remarks that he had wished Loris was a deceitful person to test his approach. Suddenly, the scene becomes distorted as Rento calls out for Lauren. Then he arrives at her house, opens the door, and greets her. Lauren asks him if he knows where the replies from the Empire are because if she doesn't respond to them quickly, they might become worried and visit her suddenly. She then looks at Rento and asks if he's okay. Rento informs her that he is happy and proceeds to embrace her. Lauren is surprised by Rento's actions and asks what he's doing. Suddenly, Rento bites her neck, leaving Lauren astonished. She questions him about his identity, and Rento takes 2 steps back, assuring her that the taste is delicious. Lauren asks if whatever was inside that body is still there. Lauren then addresses Rento as Brento, and suddenly, a blue light appears in Rento's eyes, easing Lauren's worry as she confirms that Rento is still present. Lauren uses her magic to strike Rento, causing him to faint. Lauren speaks to herself, stating that he is still alive, leaving him to rest and mentioning that if he desires to prey on her, he can do it when he is conscious because she won't object. Later, Rento wakes up feeling a significant pain in his head. Lauren asks if he feels like something is controlling him or compelling him to do something strange. Rento apologizes and Lauren accepts his apology, explaining that it was unintentional. Lauren then requests him to share the last thing he remembers. Rento recalls attacking her, meeting a man in the maze, feeling a strong desire for him, and sensing a strange turn of events. He then felt a strong urge to eat Lauren. Lauren tells him that she expected this because ghouls prefer human flesh and blood. Rento assures her that he is fine, and Lauren suggests that he must rest well. When Lauren is about to leave, Rento stops her and asks to see the wound. Lauren mentions that she sold all her medicines to the pharmacy, but if she gets the ingredients tomorrow, she can make another one. Rento places his hands on the wound and begins to heal it, surprising Lauren, who learns that Rento can use the holy aura. Rento, capable of healing, tells Lauren that it was the first time someone treated her with the holy aura, and she felt a comforting sensation. After Rento finishes treating Lauren, she informs him that the pain is completely gone. Lauren then inquires if Rento can also heal old wounds, to which he confirms. Lauren asks about the appearance of Rento's face, and he looks into a mirror, realizing that his mask has changed significantly. He notices that he would be in a predicament if he didn't cover it. Suddenly, the mask reveals one eye and covers his mouth. Lauren expresses that the mask seems to be more than just cursed. It responds to Rentto's desires. A rarity. Lauren attempts to remove the mask but fails, realizing that Rentto has to keep it on for some time. Rentto shares that he feels speaking has become easier for him, and Lauren notices his improvement. Rentto reveals that he senses a development after killing powerful monsters. Lauren asks if it's possible that Rentto evolved because he tasted her blood and flesh. Rentto is surprised, and Lauren suggests that he now resembles a character from a series called Shiki more than a typical ghoul. Rentto expresses his disinterest in watching the series, as it revolves around vampires. Lauren questions why his form evolved this way, and Rentto is curious to hear Lauren's theory. Lauren mentions the evolutionary theory as a deep puzzle for researchers akin to the mystery of mazes. She then reveals her own theory. As they sit together, Lauren asks if Rentto was initially a skeletal structure. Rentto recalls the stages of his evolution, starting as a skeletal structure, then transforming into a ghoul. Lauren finds it strange that the transformation from a skeletal structure to a ghoul was direct. She brings up the theory of biological evolution, representing a deep mystery for researchers like the existence of mazes. Lauren then asks Rentto if he wants to hear her theory, and he agrees. Lauren explains that she was going to share it with him regardless of his acceptance. She asks if Rentto has ever heard of Shiki, a character from a series. Rentto replies that he hasn't watched the series and wonders why Shiki's appearance is relevant. Lauren suggests that the direct transformation from a skeletal structure to a ghoul might be peculiar in itself. Lauren explains to Rentto that according to the theory of existential evolution, monsters evolve into higher forms, although the accuracy of this concept is uncertain. She then asks him directly whether ghouls are the immediate evolutionary stage following the skeletal structure. Rentto clarifies that there are intermediate stages, like the skeletal soldier and skeletal knight, along with many other forms, but he doesn't know if there are recorded cases of skeletal structures evolving directly into ghouls. Lauren speculates that it could be a coincidence, or there might be a reason behind such transformations. Lauren informs Rentto that she doesn't have definitive information on this matter, but offers her speculation. She suggests that monsters evolve into the creatures they desire to become. She recalls Rentto expressing his wish to transform into a being close to human form, and Rentto agrees that he had that desire. However, Lauren questions why he didn't evolve into a vampire first, as they are closer to humans. Rentto realizes the logic and admits that he did wish for that transformation before. Lauren draws a parallel between this idea and the guild's rank system, stating that you cannot directly jump from the iron rank to the gold rank. There are specific conditions and a certain level of strength required to reach each rank. She brings up experiments conducted on small-sized monsters, revealing that the environment surrounding them affects the evolutionary process. Monsters in volcanic regions develop fire-related abilities, while those in aquatic areas exhibit aquatic features. Lauren suggests that their evolution is influenced by the environment. However, Lauren introduces the possibility that evolution might be a result of the monster's desires themselves. While she acknowledges a lack of sufficient evidence, she proposes the idea that monsters might influence their own evolution based on the Rentto ponders this perspective, and Lauren concludes by suggesting that if he exerts enough effort, he might be able to transform into a vampire, considering it as a potential outcome of his desires. Moreover, there's a possibility that Rentto might return to being human someday. Lauren informs him that if he wishes to become a vampire, he needs to kill some monsters to evolve further. Rentto believes he has already transformed when he tasted Lauren's blood and flesh. Curious about the conditions for becoming a vampire, Lauren admits uncertainty and acknowledges that their conversation is built on assumptions and speculations. Rentto expresses gratitude for Lauren's support and dedication. Lauren suggests that continuous effort is the only option, and she promises to provide support. Suddenly, Lauren becomes enthusiastic, telling Rentto to undress. While she plans to document his body, in detail using a magical tool. She also mentions extracting a piece of his body for experimentation. When asked if he'll feel pain, Rentt is uncertain, and Lauren offers to prepare anesthesia, but he declines, making it part of the experiment. Lauren emphasizes testing Rentt's sleep patterns, appetite, and ability to digest regular food since he's now a creature close to a vampire. She plans additional experiments. The next morning, Rentt is found training with a sword outside, checking his physical condition and feeling remarkably well. The strange desire for unusual food has disappeared. However, Rentt realizes he won't be able to enter the maze with the sword, and he immediately goes to the swordsmith group. Upon reaching the swordsmith group, he finds them angry and surprised at the state of the sword he previously received. It's damaged beyond repair. Rentt acknowledges that using this sword in the maze would upset the group, prompting him to go directly to the swordsmith, who expresses frustration and disbelief at the sword's condition. The swordsmith confirms it cannot be fixed because it's completely ruined. So Rentt apologizes to the swordsmith for the damage caused to the sword, explaining that he used the holy aura. The swordsmith is not surprised, as he had warned Rentt not to use that particular aura on the sword. Rentt then astonishes the swordsmith by mentioning a giant skeletal structure he found in a secret magical place. The swordsmith verifies the information, eventually believing Rentt, but he urges him to quickly finish his sword because other adventurers might head to that mysterious place. The swordsmith offers Rentt a temporary replacement sword, choosing something even better this time. Rentt expresses immense gratitude and joy, taking the new sword with appreciation. As he leaves the shop and walks in the street, he thinks his secret might have been exposed. However, he decides to enter the maze again to evolve rapidly. Suddenly, he encounters the man who gave him the large gem before, and he remembers the couple running a restaurant. They inform him that they will reopen the Red Dragon restaurant starting from today, expressing great happiness. The husband mentions restarting the business, hoping for more customers. Rentt is delighted by the news and leaves the scene. As Rentt walks away, he feels a sense of accomplishment and closure. He reflects on the events and wonders what thrilling adventures lie ahead. Raina telling Rentt, the hero, that he will be surprised to see harmful substances for humans rolling towards that direction. She starts activating the spell, mentioning that alone, it can cause diarrhea and numbness in the limbs, but if combined with purification and distillation, they can even defeat the Red Bear. Rentt thinks to himself that alchemy is indeed scary, and though he agreed to help her with experiments, he fears he might die assisting her. Later, he drinks the poisonous potion, and she asks if he can use magic to neutralize its effects. He assures her but complains about the terrible taste. She reveals that he is the first person to taste the poison, and despite not affecting him, his body responds to the antidote. She admires his unique body and asks if his desire for sleep has disappeared after the transformation. He confirms, stating he no longer feels the need to sleep. She expresses jealousy and calls him weak, but he admits still craving human flesh and blood. Lorena hands him a bottle, revealing it contains her blood with a charm to preserve it. Despite his initial resistance to the idea of drinking human blood, she persuades him to consume it regularly to avoid losing control. Rentt reluctantly tastes it and finds it delicious. She asks if a drop is enough, and he agrees, satisfied with quenching his. He informs her of his departure to the labyrinth, and she reminds him to show his personal card at the guild to receive a mission, warning of potential trouble due to his appearance. Rentt is surprised by this information and says that while his appearance has changed significantly, he's just a bronze-ranked adventurer, and he doubts anyone will pay attention to him. However, Lorena explains that there are many adventurers with bronze rank like him, but the guild has a special appreciation for him due to his dedication, such as assisting newcomers and handling troublesome tasks. He considers those tasks simple, but she emphasizes their value and mentions there was even a discussion about appointing him as a guild member. This revelation astonishes Rentt, and he wonders why they would consider someone like him. Lorena explains that they found it difficult to discuss it with him directly because he never expressed a desire to retire. Rentt then asks how she knows all this, and she mentions having some connections within the guild. Rentt firmly states that he has no intention of retiring or joining the guild. Lorena continues, revealing that to raise his rank, he must take an exam, which ordinary adventurers can only attempt if they have notable achievements. She suggests that he takes the test himself and he contemplates the situation. Lorena figures out a solution for him to take the test. He should become someone else. The next day, Rentt is at the guild, expressing his nostalgia for the place. He encounters Sheila, the staff member, who asks if it's his first time there. Rentt informs her that he wants to register as an adventurer. Sheila hands him a form, explaining that he can leave any unanswered questions blank, except for his name. Rentt reflects on how 10 years ago, he only knew his name and age, but now the situation is different. He contemplates that his goal remains the same, and he fills out the form with his updated skills and magical abilities. Afterward, he remembers Lorena's words, suggesting he re-register with a new name. He initially dismisses the idea, as registering with 2 names would violate the rules. Lorena, however, insists there is no other way. Even if they discover it, it won't be a serious offense, as he can explain his transformation, whereas being known as the person who willingly transformed might raise more questions. Rentt completes the registration form under the new name and hands it to Sheila, the staff member. Sheila is surprised to see that the new name, Rentt Vivi, is quite similar to his previous one. Rentt wonders if she is concerned about him, and she explains that a few days ago, they lost an adventurer named Rentt as well. Rentt is astonished and asks if she means Rentt Faina. Sheila is surprised he knows him and reveals that Lorena informed her. Sheila then mentions that Rentt Vivi's family name is the same as Lorena's, and she asks if he is related to Lady Lorena. Rentt confirms it, mentioning he is currently staying with her. Sheila acknowledges hearing about it and notes that the news is already spreading. She thought Rentt Vivi might be the same as Rentt Faina, since they share a similar name. Rentt realizes it was a wise decision not to tell her about his relation to Lorena, wanting to avoid rumors. He also acknowledges that the name Rentt is quite common, and adventurers with unique appearances are not. Sheila asks him to wait while she finishes the paperwork. Rentt reflects on the decision to inform her of being Lorena's relative. He doesn't want unnecessary rumors circulating about her. Sheila returns, hands him his card, and reminds him that the most important thing is his life. Rentt thanks her and takes the card, officially becoming an iron-ranked adventurer, and then leaves the guild. After that, Rentt finds himself in the labyrinth and is surprised by a strange sound. He discovers a group of children fighting a small imp. Rentt realizes that they are novice adventurers, likely undergoing spiritual training. Despite their young age, he observes their good cooperation and decides they will be fine. He leaves them and thinks to himself that he used to guide newcomers in the past, but with his current appearance, he might only scare them. Rentt quickly heads to another location in the maze, acknowledging that valuable information about mazes can be exchanged for money. He plans to explore a new area and report back to increase his achievements. As he stands in a new and peculiar place, surrounded by numerous books and items, he notices a skeletal structure running on a bed. He wonders if people once lived in this part of the maze. Suddenly, he hears a girl's voice asking him what he's doing there. Rentt, tense, hesitates to respond. The girl repeats her question, asking what he's up to. Rentt stammers, explaining that he was just searching the area to see if there was anything valuable. He emphasizes that he's an adventurer. The intimidating girl assumes he's a thief, asserting her boundaries and warning him that he'll die in this place if he crosses them. She then uses a powerful spell to strike him with a fiery spear, causing him to fall and sustain a serious injury. Rentt tries to stand up, but the girl is astonished by his strange body. She accuses him of being the cause of his peculiar form, but Rentt protests, stating that he didn't choose this body. The girl, still skeptical, is taken aback by his appearance. Rentt reassures her that he means no harm, and he is not responsible for his current state. At that moment, the girl lowers her hand from the attack and apologizes for the misunderstanding. She approaches Rentt, expressing regret for almost killing him, and acknowledges the misconception. She then removes her cloak, telling him that she's unsure if it will compensate him, but gives it to him, stating they will be equals. Rentt, in his thoughts, notes her recent statement about the misunderstanding, wondering if it means she abandoned the idea of killing him. The girl informs him that the place is crucial for her and asks him to keep it a secret. She assures him that no one can enter without him, but she acknowledges that adventurers should not return empty-handed. To maintain a balance, she gives him the magical map of Acacia, an enchanted tool that automatically records the rooms he passes in the labyrinth. The girl then uses her magic to transport him to another location in the maze. After finding his way back home, Lorena notices the map and questions if he is cursed or encountering strange things. Rentt reassures her, explaining that he did not choose this path but is dealing with unexpected events. He shows her the magical map, and when he attempts to use his magic on it, it doesn't respond. Lorena understands, and Rentt realizes that the tool is safe to use. He decides to test it by casting a spell on the map. Surprisingly, the map reacts, displaying the reflected moon labyrinth, the same maze he was in a moment ago. Rentt concludes that the magical map is secure and can be used without any curses or issue. Lorena is astonished by the magical map, and suddenly she notices two marks pointing to the locations of two people. The names Rise and Laura appear on the map, indicating the presence of these adventurers. Rentt informs Lorena that he encountered them recently in the labyrinth. Lorena is surprised that the map displays the names and locations of people in the maze, considering it a frightening ability. She requests Rentt to reveal the map of other mazes. Rentt tries to display the crescent maze, but the map only shows areas he has explored before. He recalls the girl's explanation that the map automatically records the regions the owner traverses. Lorena examines Rentt's cloak, and he asks her to check if it is cursed. She assures him that it seems fine and is likely resistant to magic. Lorena expresses her belief that the cloak has high protective abilities. Rentt is relieved and happy with the benefits of the deal. However, Lorena redirects his attention, questioning the identity of the girl who almost killed him. Rentt admits he knows nothing about her, only that she possessed immense strength. Lorena suggests there might be a technique allowing someone to create a living space within the maze. Despite Lorena's warning, Rentt decides to visit the girl again. Lorena advises against it, but Rentt is determined to have another conversation with her. As he walks through the maze, he encounters a skeletal structure, recalling Lorena's words about the memory of the day he discovered the secret area in the maze and encountered the dragon, leading to his transformation into an immortal monster, crosses his mind. After being trapped in the cursed mask, Rentt believes people consider him unlucky, but he disagrees. He sees his increasing strength as he faces powerful monsters and solves more puzzles. Despite the rumors of being jinxed, he feels a sense of adventure comparable to someone in the mithril rank. As Rentt wanders inside the demise, he realizes that the entrance he used to have is no longer there. Perplexed, he checks his map, but it seems unresponsive, making him suspect that it no longer wants him to come. The scene shifts to the Adventurers Guild, where a receptionist discusses Rentt's positive efforts with another adventurer. The adventurer inquires about Rentt, and the receptionist mentions that he might be on a guard mission or something similar. Concerned for Rentt's well-being, the adventurer asks the receptionist to inform him if she hears any news. The receptionist recalls when Rentt expressed his willingness to do anything to attain the mithril rank. However, she is startled when Rentt appears behind her. He apologizes and asks her to assign him a mission. The receptionist, worried about the difficulty, hands him a task to collect the flesh of 3 ghasts, powerful monsters. Rentt insists that he can handle it, having fought them before. Despite her concerns, the receptionist advises him against taking such a challenging mission at his current iron rank. Rentt, confident in his abilities, assures her that he can accomplish the task. The receptionist agrees, emphasizing that he should not push himself to the point of impossibility and escape if he finds himself in a dire situation. Rentt acknowledges the value of his life and promises to preserve it. Lorraine suggests that he change his name. Not only does this get him away from the suspicious eyes, but he also has to start over. As long as Rentt has an iron level like a newborn, he doesn't mind. In the end, he will be a mythal rank adventurer. The most important dream he has is to kill the 3 orcs that Sheila gave him. She is shocked that he has already done this. It's hard for iron level to kill 3 orcs at the same time. Adventurers, but Rentt has already done this job easily, so adventurers and those around him look at him with wide eyes. Sheila sees that he could do a lot of things, so she tells him to wait a minute. In the meantime, she went inside to talk to someone higher up. He's allowed to take the bronze level test because she talked to them and got their permission, which is what the law says. Iron level beginners aren't allowed to take part, but Sheila knows he can do it, so she does it without any trouble to test him. He's been told to rest. How can renters miss such a great chance without wasting a single second? Second, he says yes. Then, he moves in with Lorraine and tells her the most important news. She's also happy now. He is powerful, so she knows he can do anything. Putting this aside for a moment, she asks him his name, which he told the guild. When Rentt talks about Rentt Vivi, she starts to cough. Even the tea that fell on the floor is being drunk by her. People avoid her because Rentt has taken the name of her family. The thing that made her wonder, but Rentt gives her a good answer. He has taken on her name so that no one can speak badly about her. Many people may wonder why he is living with them and point the finger at her character, but he has taken away their doubts because he is family to her. Lorraine gets a pretty smile on her face as she listens to this. She had no idea that Rentt really cared about her. Also, she doesn't care what other people think of her. She is very smart and skilled, but she can't have a high rank in the capital, so why should she depend on that? Also, he owes her rent because she let him live there. If she doesn't, then his identity can be found out. She is a big part of his success, but Lorraine doesn't think she has to do much for Rentt yet since he still does her chores around the house. Rentt is grateful for her. Lorraine gives him confidence by telling him that he has introduced himself as a family member, so it doesn't matter if she lets him live in her house. And she doesn't mind if he stays here his whole life. The Rentt can't go anywhere, so it's the best place for him to hide who he really is. The next day, Rentt shows up at the Adventurer Guild. On his first day, other adventurers are shocked to see him. He amazed everyone with how smart and skilled he was. Even Sheila is still deciding if he will be here when she wants him to be. He still needs to study for his next tests. But this one is next month, so he is ready for the bronze level test. He can take the test since he has passed all the skills tests. Without a doubt, a test guide shows up and asks them if they need to pass 2 types of tests. The first test will test their knowledge as an adventurer. They should know a lot about this. Rentt already knows it and is ready for it. The guild will give more information about the next test after the written or oral test is over. The Rentt was about to give a written test. He went to the center for the written test. He has Ola following him because she is a part of it. Rentt looked around the class while he was writing and saw a lot of adventurers. Lola, whom he had seen before in the labyrinth, caught his eye. He's also inspired by how Lola and Ray work together. He is grasped. Ray will also be there when she gets here. He's giving an oral exam because Ray needs to see how well he can write compared to him. Rentt knows a lot about a lot of things because he wants to be an adventurer and has spent all his time learning about herbs and other things. In addition, this test was very easy for him because the questions were too simple. Rentt had already taken and passed this test after the exams. He hears from Sheila that he got great grades. Some people can only get that kind of mark, and renters are one of them. Rentt doesn't care about his compliments and instead asks about his practical exam. This information will be led by the teacher. She can only say that he has partners named Lola and Ray. They start to talk to each other. Ray can use spirit and power with her sword, and Lola is a mage who can heal them and watch over them from behind. The teacher tells them something new, and Rentt knows they will be a great team. They need to go to the New Moon's maze. Plus, they are given a map and are told to look for a cross. To get to the goal, they have to get there first. The person who does it first will get a reward, and there are no rules about how to pass the test. The trouble is that they all have to do the same thing. This means that the tasks will be hard because everyone will do their best to get to the top using the carriage they are. Labyrinth's moon and the moons of other participants have moved forward. Asked if they had been there before, luckily they've been here before, but they haven't had a chance to go deep. Now, they're going to use this chance to follow the map though. Ray took a step forward, the order stopped him. They're not going to use this map. The date this map was prepared is 15 years ago, which shows that it is not accurate, but the guild gave them the map. Then how did they do that? In the game mind, the guild gave them a map to see how smart they are, and Rentt has already figured out what's wrong. How can GB be so innocent when the carriage is given to get to the place? There's something wrong. At that point, he understood that Ray had told him to keep his eyes and ears open. Right at that moment, Rentt goes to a nearby shop and asks about the newest map. For 5 coins, they get the map, which shows obstacles and traps. They can get to their destination and are free, but guild led them astray. Owners of shops are impressed by Rentt's knowledge and wisdom. He tells them they need to stay with him through the labyrinth if they want to pass the test. They came across some skeletons and pulled out their swords, hitting Ray and Lola and knocking them down. They both use their power to get rid of them, and Rentt doesn't worry about them either because he knows they can handle them. Because they are strong and capable at such a young age. The skeletons have avoided them. When one of them gets too strong for R, he hits it in the head with his sword. He also teaches him something else. By getting ahead a few steps, an adventurer never lets down his guard. Rentt soon learned something was wrong. He knows what the issue is. He found a sheet of powder that monsters can also be called through. He knows that monsters can't do this because they don't have the brains to, which means people are to blame. Since the guild told them they could do anything, they are doing this bad thing. Because they have to knock people down to pass the test by motivating them, they are scared to death. As he planned, he moves forward and takes slow, steady steps. People are ready to knock him down, but Rentt is ready and blocks his attack with his sword. Lola and Ray are fighting 2 more people when Ray shows he is strong. Lola helps him and knocks him down with her power. On the other hand, Rentt beat them up badly with his punches and sword. It was a great example of working together. Lola and Ray have bound and forced their enemies to kneel, so they can't do anything else. Rentt tells them to be careful, because monsters aren't the only ones who are after them. People who admire his skills have also turned into tough competitors, and Brain Ray has decided to follow him. Lola is shocked because Ray never thinks of anyone else as his leader. They move forward, but Rentt stops for a while. He tells the adventurer who is hidden to take care of his friends. The man who is hidden is shocked. Even though it's dark everywhere, how could he know he was there? He unlocked them and felt like he had met someone like them before. Besides that, he likes the Rentt. Sheila, on the other hand, is standing in front of the guild master and politely asks why you called him. It seems fishy that the guild master already knows about the Rentt. What makes someone different if they show up with a scratch? He doesn't have a history either, and he looks suspicious, but Sheila still couldn't doubt him. There's nothing she can do to hurt the boss. His boss tells him to find out more about Rentt. If she finds something fishy, she needs to tell him about it. Everyone has a past that they want to talk about. At this point, Sheila has no choice but to say yes because Ray told him to keep their eyes and ears open. Besides that, they're in front of the boss's door. This door will lead them to the biggest monster. Ray, who never gets into a fight with the boss, wants to know more. How does an iron work? Rentt is encouraging him to have an adventurer fight with a boss, but Ray is still nervous. At the same time, his rival shows up and starts making fun of them. They treat them like kids and think Masked Man is nothing compared to them. When they see how beautiful Lola is, they invite her to join them, but Ray protects her and tells them to leave because they got there first, just as their enemy is about to attack. Rentt then puts his sword around his neck and looks at it. He is scared because this man in the mask could do anything. They are told to stay within their limits by Rentt, and he has been given permission to get inside. They've moved in, which makes Ray happy. How could he let them lose if they had won first? But Renz is busy with something else today. Even though Lola already knew, Ray's mind has something else come to it. He might be trying to get them to look inside and see what's going on. When they do, they'll hear the yelling and get hurt. Now that 2 guys with friends come out, Rentt knows that they won't die in this fight. Ray has started to think about this, and now all they need is to get them ready for a fight. He has to work hard to become an adventurer and can't let down his guard. If he fails, he will get hurt, so he has no choice but to give it a try and give up hope. In addition, he asks Lola. Lola can't leave him alone, whether she's following him or not. Along with a smile, she gives them a good response. Most of them leave the fight by scaring the boss, but they are ready to face the boss, who is much stronger than their imagination. After that, they walk over to face the boss. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes from this wonderful anime. However, the channel requests support with subscriptions, bell notifications, and comments.